Hello friends. Today we are going to discuss next chapter of chemotherapy, that is protein synthesis inhibitors 3 broad spectrum antibiotics. What is broad spectrum antibiotics? Broad spectrum antibiotics are the drugs which are effective against gram positive and gram negative bacteria, and also they have effect against variety of non bacterial organisms also, which include organisms like Rickettsia, Chlamydia, Protozoa, Mycoplasma, Spirochetes, etc. They do not have any effect on the fungus or viruses, which means broad spectrum antibiotics are effective against all gram positive organism, all gram negative organism, as well as they are effective against some non bacterial microorganisms like Rickettsia, Chlamydia, Protozoa, Mycoplasma, Spirochetes, etc. That is why they are called as broad spectrum antibiotics. Drugs included in this category are only two, that is tetracycline and chloramphenicol. In previous lectures of penicillin and aminoglycosides, cephalosporins, you have heard the term broader spectrum of class, broader spectrum of drug, like broad spectrum penicillin, extended spectrum penicillin, but that term is little bit different from the broad spectrum antibiotics. Broad spectrum antibiotics means action against bacteria as well as other non bacterial organism also, while in penicillin or cephalosporin in or aminoglycosides, when we say broader spectrum, which means there is extended spectrum other than the primary bacterial spectrum, which include either gram positive or gram negative organism. So I hope you have understood the difference between the term broad spectrum antibiotics and extended spectrum of a single antibiotic. When we say broad spectrum antibiotics, there are only two drugs, tetracycline and chloramphenicol. So first we start with tetracycline. Tetracycline, the first molecule in this group was chlortetracycline, which was first member discovered in 1948, and it was obtained from Streptomyces aureofaciens, and others which are subsequently developed, they are produced from the mutant or they are semi-synthetically produced into the factories. The classification of tetracycline is based on their development, like group 1, 2 and 3, which are developed subsequently. Chemically, they possess nucleus of 4 cyclic ring. That is why the name is tetracycline. Here you can see that there are 4 cyclic nucleus into the chemical structure. That is why the name tetracycline is given to the antibiotic. Now we come to the classification of tetracycline. Group 1 tetracycline are the drugs which are shorter acting tetracycline, which means they have to be administered every 6 hourly. Drugs in this category are tetracycline, oxytetracycline and chlortetracycline. 6 hourly means 4 times a day. Here is the drugs which are administered 4 times a day. Group 2 include intermediate acting drugs. They are to be administered 12 hourly, means twice a day. Drugs in this category are demeclocycline, methacillin and limecycline. And group 3 drugs are longer acting drugs and they are to be administered once a day only, which include doxycycline and minocycline. So here the classification is based on the discovery as well as based on the duration of action. Group 1 means shorter acting drug administered every 6 hourly. Group 2 means intermediate acting drug administered 12 hourly, and group 3 is longer acting drug administered once a day, that is doxycycline. First agent written in every group is the prototype of that class. Now we see the mechanism of action of tetracycline. Tetracycline are bacteriostatic drug and they act by inhibiting protein synthesis. They bind to the 30S ribosome unit and they interfere with the binding of amino acyl tRNA to mRNA. So peptide chain fail to grow and ultimately protein synthesis is inhibited and bacteriostatic effect is produced. They are taken actively inside the cell They enter through the porine channel, and some of the tetracycline which are lipid soluble, they pass into the cell by passive diffusion. So tetracycline enters the cell by all the mechanism. They can go by diffusion, they can go by porine channel, or they can be taken up by the cell actively also. Here is the diagrammatic presentation of the mechanism of action. As we all know, into the bacterial protein synthesis, ribosome consists of two subunit for 50s subunit, and this is 30s subunit. Tetracycline, they bind with 30s subunit and block the integrity of the tRNA, binding of the tRNA, thereby inhibiting the protein synthesis. They does not allow tRNA to combine with the subsequent unit, and further protein synthesis cannot take place. Here into the same diagram, if you remember from the previous class, aminoglycoside also binds with the 30s ribosome, but they cause impaired proofreading and resulting in faulty protein synthesis. So the protein which is synthesized, which is not effective for the cell, and bactericidal effect is produced. While macrolide, they combine with 50s ribosomal subunit and they prevent the peptide bond formation, and ultimately protein synthesis is inhibited and bacteriostatic effect is produced. So in this diagram we have revised the mechanism of action of all the protein synthesis inhibitor drugs. So what is the spectrum of antimicrobial action of tetracycline? Even though it is said that tetracycline are broader spectrum drug, nowadays most of the organisms are resistant with tetracycline because of its widespread use since long period of time. All gram positive and gram negative cocci are sensitive, but many like S. pyrogens, enterococci and staph are now resistant. Some gram-positive bacilli like Clostridia, Listeria, B. Bacillus anthracis, Corynebacterium diphtheria, or Propionibacter acne are sensitive. Gram-negative bacilli like H. ducreyi, C. granulomatosis, Vibrio cholerae, Yersinia pestis, Y. jejuni, H. pylori, Brucella, Persula, and Tularensis, they are still sensitive with tetracycline. They does not have any effect on E. coli, Salmonella, Shigella, Pseudomonas, Proteus, Klebsiella, and B. fragilis as of now. They are sensitive against spirochetes like Treponema and Borrelia, Rickettsia like typhus, Chlamydia like Trachomatis chlamydi, Mycoplasma, actinomides, they are also still sensitive with the tetracycline. Protozoa like E. histolytica and Plasmodia are also sensitive for tetracycline. Now we see the mechanism of resistance. Resistance is usually graded, either it because of the weak update mechanism by the cells, sometimes it is plasmid mediated, which lead to synthesis of the ribosomal site protection protein by the bacteria, so that tetracycline cannot combine with the ribosomal site and the desired action cannot be produced. Complete cross resistance among the all members of the group are there, and there is also partial cross resistance with the chloramphenicol. So if the drug is resistant to tetracycline, whole group of tetracycline cannot be given, as well as chloramphenicol should not be given because of the cross resistance among them. Now we come to the pharmacokinetic properties of tetracycline. Group 1 molecule like tetracycline and oxytetracycline, they are partly absorbed and their absorption is affected by food. While group 3 drug like doxycycline, they are totally absorbed and no effect of food on the absorption is seen. But simultaneous administration of milk, iron and antacid reduce absorption of all tetracycline. These drugs are having tendency to get concentrated into liver, spleen, bone and teeth. Group 2 and group 3 drugs, which are longer acting, they have longer plasma half-life because of the high plasma protein binding capacity. These drugs are highly plasma protein bound, so they are getting less metabolized and less excreted, and plasma half-life is extended. Drug is usually excreted into the urine and partly it is metabolized also. The drug enters into the bile and goes enterohepatic circulation, which is one of the mechanism for extended half-life. The drug is also secreted into the milk and it affects the baby, which is breastfeeding. Doxycycline is totally metabolized and enzyme inducer drugs can reduce the half-life of doxycycline. So if we have to see the preparations of tetracycline, it is oxytetracycline is available in market as capsule of 250 and 500 milligram to be administered 6 hourly. Injection 50 milligram per ml into 10 ml vials. It is also available as skin ointment of 3% and eye and ear drop of 1% solution. Tetracycline is available as 250 and 500 milligram 6 hourly. You have to remember dose of tetracycline as capsule tetracycline 500 milligram. One tablet is to be taken 4 times a day for adult. It is also available as ointment for the skin 3% and eye and ear drop as 1%. Demiclocycline available as tablet and capsule of 150 and 300 milligram to be taken twice a day, and doxycycline 100 milligram once a day or twice a day as per the indication. Topical preparation of the tetracycline may cause sensitization. That is why topical use of tetracycline group of drug is usually discouraged. And parenteral preparations are rarely used nowadays because we have many safe antibiotic available into the market. Now we come to the adverse drug reaction, which is the most dangerous part with the tetracycline. There are too many adverse drug reaction with the tetracycline and it is one of the major limiting factor for its use in current practice. So let's see what are the adverse drug reaction. First is irritation. The tetracycline are irritant molecule. When taken orally, they cause irritation into the GIT leading to pain, abdominal pain, nausea, gastritis, vomiting, diarrhea. If they are administered intramuscularly, they cause pain at the IM site, and if administered intravenously, they cause thrombophlebitis of the injected vein because of their irritant nature. They cause liver damage presented as fatty infiltration, jaundice, acute hepatic necrosis during pregnancy may occur. Renal damage is also one of the dangerous side effects. They cause enhancement of the existing renal disease. Only doxycycline is safe during renal damage because it is completely metabolized by the liver, but all other tetracycline group of drugs are damaging the kidney. Other common side effect which happens with the outdated tetracycline is Fanconi-like syndrome. Phototoxicity occurs with the tetracycline, which includes sunburn reaction, which is common with demiclocycline, doxycycline. It can also cause distortion of the nails. Other side effects are mainly pertaining to teeth and bone where the drug gets concentrated. Tetracycline gets chelate with the calcium and they get deposited into the growing bones and teeth. Because of the metabolites of the tetracycline, they give brown discoloration and ill-formed teeth, and these teeth will be susceptible to more formation of caries. Mid-pregnancy up to 5th month age, milk teeth and 3rd month to 6th year permanent teeth are affected of the babies. That is why tetracycline should never be administered to the pediatric patients. Temporary suppression of the bone growth with deformity and stunted growth may occur after long-term use. This list of side effects still goes on. Other side effects are anabolic effect, which causes reduced protein synthesis. They cause catabolic effect and increase into the blood urea level is reported. They cause raised intracranial tension into the fetus. It may lead to death of the infants also. It produces diabetes insipidus. Dimeclocycline antagonizes the action of ADH. That is why there is a development of diabetes insipidus. They are vestibulotoxic drug. The vestibular toxicity is usually reversible and minocycline has more tendency to produce vestibular toxicity. Allergic reaction can occur like with any molecule. They can cause rashes, urticaria, pruritus, exfoliative dermatitis, rarely angioedema, and anaphylactic shock may occur. Cross allergy is there among all the agents. So once allergic reaction is developed with one tetracycline, the whole tetracycline group is not administered into that patient. Other dangerous side effect is superinfection. Whenever tetracycline is used into higher doses and for prolonged period of time, it causes marked suppression of bacterial flora because it can kill all gram positive and negative organism, gram positive cocci and bacilli as well as gram negative cocci and bacilli. So intestinal bacterial flora is completely suppressed when you use tetracycline orally for long period of time. So because of the suppression of the bacterial flora, there is super growth of the candidiasis, staphylococcus enteritis may occur, or clostridium difficile induced pseudomembranous colitis may occur, which lead to life threatening diarrhea. Oral mucosa, vagina and skin may get affected with superinfection like fungal infection may occur. This type of side effects are less common with doxycycline. There are certain drug interactions to be remembered with tetracycline, which include iron, calcium, antacid. They reduce the absorption of tetracycline, so they should not be prescribed simultaneously. And if tetracycline are taken along with the oral contraceptive pills, then there is a chance of failure of hormonal contraceptive effect, which should be kept in mind. So here is the list of all adverse drug reactions with tetracycline, and because of this much side effect with tetracycline, this drug is almost not at all used in current practice except you have certain specific conditions. Before going into therapeutic uses, we see the precautions for the use of tetracycline. It is contraindicated during pregnancy, lactation and children. It is avoided into the patients taking diuretic because it will further raise the blood urea level. Caution is required into the use into patients with hepatic or renal disease. Do not use expiry date preparation of tetracycline because they can cause more allergic reaction, and more important is Fanconi syndrome, which is a kidney disorder may occur with the expiry date preparation of tetracycline. Don't mix injectable solution with the penicillin, otherwise there is inactivation of the molecule and the drug becomes ineffective. So now we come to the therapeutic uses. Despite of all these adverse drug reactions, if we take necessary precautions as mentioned into earlier slide, tetracycline are still drug of first choice for few conditions. They are drug of choice for lymphogranuloma venereum, where they are given for 2 to 3 weeks. They are drug of choice for granuloma inguinale, where they are given for 1 to 2 weeks. They all are sexually transmitted diseases, and we will be learning in detail about them in the subsequent lectures of pharmacotherapy of sexually transmitted diseases. They are drug of choice for atypical pneumonia and psittacosis. They can be useful for treatment of cholera, but nowadays they are used as only adjuvant. For brucellosis, doxycycline 200 mg plus rifampicin 600 mg per day for 6 weeks is the treatment of choice even today. For the plague, both the type, pneumonic plague and bubonic plague, tetracycline are still drug of first choice. Relapsing fever due to Borrelia recurrentis, tetracycline 500 mg 4 times a day to be taken for 2 to 3 weeks is drug of choice. Rickettsial fever caused by typhus or Q fever, tetracycline is drug of first choice. So here you can see that tetracycline is drug of first choice for all atypical organism like organisms causing sexually transmitted diseases, citicosis, atypical pneumonia, brucellosis, plague, relapsing fever, rickettsial fever, cholera, etc. They are not routine drug for the treatment of upper respiratory tract infection or lower respiratory tract infection. They are usually used for the atypical infections. They are drug of second choice for the certain diseases like tetanus, anthrax, actinomyces and listeria, where penicillin is first choice. But if patient is allergic to penicillin or for some reason you cannot give penicillin, then as a second choice of drug you can give tetracycline. They are drug of second choice for penicillinase producing Neisseria gonorrhoeae, where drug of first choice is ceftriaxone. If it is not available, you can give tetracycline. Or for non-penicillinase producing Neisseria gonorrhoeae UTI, you can give penicillin. If it is not possible to give penicillin, then tetracycline is second choice. They can be given as a drug of second choice to penicillin for syphilis. They can also be given for second choice of drug for chlamydial infection, where azithromycin is first drug of first choice. They can be given for treatment of chancroid and E. coli, where they are secondary to cotrimoxazole. For tularemia, they are drug of second choice after streptomycin. They can also be used for certain other infections because they are broad spectrum. You can use the drug at any point of time. They can be useful for urinary tract infection if organisms are still sensitive. They can be used for mixed infection or where you do not know which organism has caused the infection, then tetracycline is best choice. But it has long list of adverse drug reaction and drug is very toxic. It can be useful for treatment of intestinal amoebiasis where it is used in combination. For P. falciparum malaria where it is also used in combination with other anti-malarial drug. It can be useful for treatment of acne where low dose prolonged therapy is required. It can be useful for prophylaxis of meningococcal meningitis where minocycline is preferred. But for these conditions like intestinal amoebiasis, falciparum malaria, how they are used for urinary infection, how they are used, we are going to take it separately as a session of management of pharmacotherapy, management of malaria or amoebiasis. You will be learning about this use in detail at that point of time. But you should remember here that they are useful for these infections also. Now we come to the second group or second drug of this broad spectrum antibiotic group, that is chloramphenicol. If we see the source and chemistry, it is obtained from Streptomyces venezuelae in year 1947. Later on we produced it synthetically because of the nitrobenzene as a chemical structure into the chloramphenicol molecule. These drugs are extremely bitter in taste and oral palatability of the drug is very much reduced. If we see the mechanism of action, they bind to 50S ribosome unit. They interfere with the transfer of peptide chain to newly attached amino acyl tRNA at mRNA junction. And high doses can affect the host bone marrow cells also because the less identification between the bacterial protein and human proteins. That is the most dangerous part of the mechanism of action because of which chloramphenicol is not much used. This is just a revision of mechanism of action as we have seen previously. Chloramphenicol attaches here at the 50S subunit and it does not allow the transfer of tRNA or protein synthesis does not take place from this point of time, which leads to bacteriostatic effect. If we see the antimicrobial spectrum, it is bacteriostatic in nature and at very high concentration it can produce bactericidal action in some bacteria like H. influenzae. Same range of microbes as tetracycline is there for the spectrum of chloramphenicol, which means chloramphenicol and tetracycline are having same organism for the sensitivity. Previously, when they were discovered, they were highly active against Salmonella typhi. In fact, they were drug of first choice for typhoid fever in the previous time, but now it is resistant. More sensitive to H. influenzae, B. pertussis, Klebsiella, meningococci, anaerobes like Bacillus fragilis. They are less effective against gram-positive cocci, spirochetes, and enterobacteriaceae, and they do not have any action on protozoa, chlamydia, mycobacteria, pseudomonas, fungi, and viruses. So this is the two three things are slightly different, that they does not have any effect on protozoa, chlamydia, mycobacteria, and pseudomonas, where tetracycline may be effective. So how resistant to chloramphenicol develop? It is also graded in most of the organism. R-factor mediated resistance has been seen into Salmonella typhi and other gram-negative organism. Sometimes organism acquire destructive acetyl transferase enzyme which will cause destruction of the chloramphenicol. Sometimes there is decreased permeability and affinity of the 50S ribosome for the binding to the chloramphenicol may get affected and leads to resistant organism. There is partial cross resistance between erythromycin, clindamycin and tetracycline. If we see the pharmacokinetic of chloramphenicol, there is rapid and total oral absorption is possible. It is widely distributed into all the tissues including CSF, placenta and gets secreted into milk. It is metabolized into the liver by glucuronide conjugation. That is why it is toxic into infants and cirrhotic patient, and drugs gets excreted through the kidneys. If we see the preparations of chloramphenicol, it is available as capsule of 250 and 500 milligram to be administered 4 times a day. Syrup of 125 milligram per 5 ml and to be given as 25 to 50 milligram per kg per day. This was about the oral preparation. It is also available as injectable formulation 0.25 and 0.5 and 1 gram vials, eye ointment of 1%, ear drops of 0.5%, skin ointment of 1% and skin ointment of 5% is also available in market. Now we see the adverse drug reactions of chloramphenicol. Here also the adverse drug reactions are very high and very dangerous. Most dangerous is bone marrow depression. Because at higher doses, drug cannot discriminate between the human cells and human bone marrow cells and bacterial protein cells, and they cause inhibition of the bone marrow depression. Presented as agranulocytosis, thrombocytopenia, aplastic anemia and pancytopenia. Bone marrow depression may be non-dose related idiosyncratic type which may be serious, fatal and it occurs after repeated courses of chloramphenicol, and leukemia is one of the major side effect into the survivor of this adverse drug reaction. And bone marrow depression may occur as a dose related manner which is a predictable, reversible, there is no sequelae, and this type of bone marrow depression is more common into liver and kidney disease patient. So bone marrow depression is can occur with chloramphenicol by both the ways. Usually ADR occurs either as augmented form or bizarre or idiosyncratic. Here bone marrow depression can occur by both the way. It can be augmented or dose related also, which is predictable. As you increase the dose of chloramphenicol, chances of bone marrow depression increases, which is reversible with almost no sequelae except into the patients of liver and kidney failure. Sometimes what happens, you give the chloramphenicol, there is no bone marrow depression, but after few repeated doses you identify there is a development of bone marrow depression which may be serious, sometimes fatal also, and even if you survive the patient, leukemia is a lifelong complication. So always there is a need of monitoring of the blood cell count for the measuring the toxicity of chloramphenicol because it is presented as agranulocytosis, thrombocytopenia, pancytopenia, aplastic anemia. They are the presenting features of bone marrow depression. So complete blood count examination is always necessary for prescription of chloramphenicol. Other side effect is allergy which may cause rashes, fever, glossitis and angioedema. It causes irritation of the GI tract when administered orally, causing nausea, vomiting, gastric pain. Sometimes it causes super infection, exactly same like we have discussed with tetracycline, but incidence of super infection is less common with chloramphenicol. But chloramphenicol causes grey baby syndrome as a very serious side effect. It occurs because of the high doses of chloramphenicol enters into the neonates. Baby usually not stop taking the feed. Baby starts vomiting. Ultimately, baby becomes hypotonic. Hypothermia occurs, followed by irregular respiration. Whole baby becomes cyanosed. The body color is converted into blue or gray, like we have seen into the cyanosis patient. That is why the syndrome is given the name gray baby syndrome. Ultimately, because of the cyanosis, cardiovascular collapse occur and death of the infant or neonate is likely, which is the most dangerous side effect of chloramphenicol, because of which it should not be used into pediatric patients. Drug interaction. These drugs are metabolic inhibitor, so they raise the level of oral hypoglycemic agents, warfarins, phenytoin and others. Because of the enzyme inducer action, they cause sorry when they are administered simultaneously with the enzyme inducer, failure of antibiotic therapy with chloramphenicol is a result. That is why before prescribing chloramphenicol one should look for the drug interactions also. Now we come to the therapeutic uses. Because of the serious toxicity, it should not be used for the minor or undefined infection. For the infections they are treatable by safe drugs, you should not use chloramphenicol. Repeated courses of chloramphenicol are absolutely contraindicated in all the patients. You should not use more than 2 to 3 grams per day of chloramphenicol. You should not use chloramphenicol for more than 2 weeks duration, and at for the given course of 2 weeks you should not administer more than 28 grams of chloramphenicol. More than 25 milligram per kg per day in infant is absolutely contraindicated. So in which condition chloramphenicol is to be given? Like we have discussed earlier, when their drug came into the market, it is drug of first choice for typhoid fever. But nowadays, Salmonella typhi is resistant with chloramphenicol, so we drug of choice is fluoroquinolones or third generation cephalosporin like ceftriaxone. Second use is pyogenic meningitis, where they are used as a second line drug after third generation cephalosporin. They can be useful for anaerobic infections caused by Bacillus fragilis, where currently clindamycin or metronidazole are preferred. They can be useful for the ocular infection caused by sensitive organisms. They can be useful for brucellosis and rickettsial fever when tetracyclines are contraindicated. Sometimes they can be useful for treatment of urinary tract infection as alternate to other safer drugs in sensitive organisms. But by and large, looking at the therapeutic uses, in current era, chloramphenicol is having very less place in therapeutics. Locally, it can be useful for treatment of conjunctivitis and ear infections. So this finishes our discussion on broad spectrum antibiotics, which included two drugs, tetracycline and chloramphenicol. I hope you have understand the topic well, and if you have any questions you can ask. Thank you.